We can't make you a morning person, but we can make your mornings better. Switch on to 94.3 Royal FM.
Sound that fine because, you all know that there's a bad fever and flu going around. You could be scared it's Marburg. That's why it's important for you to go and do your medical checkups to just remove any doubts.
Like Jesse did.
Or
Yes.
you could spread a disease to so many people around you.
Yeah.
Monday morning.
My voice is very clear, as much as I screamed at the rally, but my voice is very clear.
Your voice is very clear. You made very good new friends. So
I met nice people at the rally, man, the Mount Gorilla, but that's not the point. Good morning, NASA.
Good morning. Mine is clear.
Clearly, man.
I'm right as rain.
The man who has been on a chill for a while, your voice has to be clear.
yeah, you look so healthy, by the
And
way.
very
Yeah,
fresh.
Thank you, guys. It was that time of the year where I needed to take a step back.
Vacationing.
Yeah, not
Those
vacationing. Yeah, I was actually 10 times as busy, but I had to move around a bit.
Are you also of the view that there should be girlfriend allowance?
I think if there's spouse allowance, there should be spouse allowance. I call it spouse allowance.
Yeah.
I told you guys that these days it's not girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband. There's they, them.
They.
Yes. If there's allowance for anything, there's allowance for anything. Like if you can afford that sort of thing, then it's part of your
Yeah.
character
Would you give
development.
girlfriend allowance? Would you give her an allowance?
I don't think I would date the kind of person that needs an allowance.
No, she doesn't need. She doesn't need to need. But if you,
You
can
just
give,
give
you
the
just
allowance.
give. We are not saying we should be given because we need. No, we should just be given.
An allowance.
Yeah.
You know, an allowance sounds like a remuneration of some sort.
What's wrong with that?
Just give a woman allowance money.
Or maybe
for
the
her to take care of
maybe the
herself.
word is put wrongly. But should a girl be given money?
To just take care of herself
Just-
instead of
I don't
her
understand the
asking.
question.
Pocket money.
Instead of her asking that give me money for my makeup, give
That's
me
the
money
thing.
for
I don't
my
understand the question because,
Just know
like
that there
I
should
said
be a
earlier
monthly
on,
allowance.
if it's spouse allowance, as in spouse, I mean like whatever you guys are into. If you're into them, they,
Yes.
girls, boys, whatever. Please, if the money you have doesn't solve your problems, I remember seeing this clip some
Eat
time
it.
back. Give your money out. But for me personally, I don't snitch on myself. But what I'm trying to say is, people should do whatever they want. Like in general, whatever you guys come
So
up
you're
with.
trying to dodge the question. Would you give?
Would you count it right?
I plead the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States.
Clearly, you're trying to. You don't want to give people money.
Monday morning, NASA is with us in the studios. Our conversation today is inspired by his decision to just be away from us for a certain period of time,
Yeah.
where he just went to go and rest so he can be more productive. So we want to talk about resting to be productive. I know that in a world where we are today, it's quite difficult to find time to rest. Actually, personally, I feel guilty every time I do not have my laptop open. I feel guilty,
Can you
like
imagine?
I'm missing something that I should be doing regarding work. So it's difficult for me to be at rest.
You're such a workaholic boyfriend, by the way. Sorry to say. I just said it.
NASA.
Guys, what did I just jump into here?
Like workaholic man, he is.
You know those things where you jump into
family
a conversation and,
conversation.
and you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
No, Bambi, don't get this whole twisted. But he's such an workaholic man that he feels sick when his laptop is not open.
Because
So
he's
basically, he does not rest.
But he's trying to find that girlfriend allowance and, make ends meet. No, Jesse, I totally understand you. Because we live in a world these days that is fast-paced, productivity and hustle are celebrated. I think like a generation before, they used to celebrate success. Now we celebrate productivity and hustle. Everyone is hustling, even if their productivity is not that good. Or maybe everyone is trying to be productive or look productive, there's two different things here, right? So there's looking productive and then there's actually being productive. So what we are always doing here is trying to bring people to their best self, which is to be productive. You may not look productive, but you are productive, or you may be productive, but you don't look productive, whatever. But
You could also be a busybody just.
yeah, but we need to get out of that trap of looking productive and actually be more productive. So today we are talking about rest. And I'm going to give a few words on that. Sleep is a vital component of rest, but sleep is its own talk show. Today we are not talking about sleep, we're talking about rest. If we were to talk about sleep as part of rest, that would be another thing of its own. But today let's talk about rest. And we'll talk about the types. I'll start by jumping into the types of rest. A lot of people don't know them, even though they experience them every day.
The different types of resting?
There are different types of rest. So when I get into them, maybe people will be looking for parts of what it is they do to rest and they won't find it. And if you don't find any of your rest in these things I'm going to say, then you are actually part of the problem.
But listen, if you have questions, you have an opportunity to ask these questions live here on the radio. Our WhatsApp number is open on 07912300600. Just in case NASA says something that does not sit okay with you, you might want to just quickly jump in and we'll try to get into it.
I'd like to see someone try, but yeah. So I'll start with the first one, which is very relatable. It's called physical rest. This one is when you're giving your body a break from physical exertion, right? And this one is just, I give a quick example. It can involve lying down or sitting or reclining in a comfortable position. You're not asleep. You're just not doing anything. That one is called physical rest. It relieves muscle tension, reduces fatigue, and basically overall physical exertion. So people who go to the gym know what physical rest is, because between sets you sit just there and it's like you're on your phone and people think you've given up, but it's called physical rest. It's between sets. But then also in real life, there's physical rest where just say you actually do rest, even though you don't know that. Otherwise, you would have died a long time ago. You usually go home and you sit there doing nothing, even though your laptop screen is open. That's called physical rest. And I move to the next one, which is mental rest. It involves giving your mind a break from continuous cognitive activity and mental stimulus. Allow your mind to relax and recharge. This can be achieved through activities like daydreaming, taking a break, work-related tasks, engage in hobby. By the way, mental rest, you see that thing where you're doing something or writing a document as an example, and then you jump onto your Instagram and start scrolling through the nonsense. That's mental rest. Because with Instagram, you're literally just looking at stuff, but you're not actually thinking
Would
about.
you have to call it nonsense, though?
Yes, there's a lot of nonsense on Instagram, but yeah, you scroll TikTok. You guys are on TikTok, no? And you go through TikTok, but don't overdo it. So mental rest requires you to just jump away from. We'll talk about it later, but it's jumping away from the activity that you've been doing that requires you to think very much and first chill a bit. After some time, maybe 10 minutes later, you feel like now, oh, it makes sense. I know how I'm going to do this now. Because when you get stuck somewhere, you need to stop a little bit there. And then there's the third one. If I go through all of them, they'll make sense finally, bring them together. The third one is emotional rest. This is not the same as mental rest. Emotional rest involves taking a break from emotional stressors, allowing yourself to emotionally recharge, create space for emotional well-being, find ways to relax and rejuvenate your emotions. A lot of you don't even know how to do that, but let's keep going. It can involve things like journaling, spending time in nature. You know those guys who go out there in Nyungwe and whatever. Engaging in activities that bring you joy. You don't have to go out to the park. Some people engage in activities that bring them joy, like the rally. Like there are people who go. I don't know what it is people do to get like that emotional rest, but something that brings you joy, makes you happy. You need to be a bit happy, not just be there all worried all the time. Then there is sensory rest. Sensory rest is like not something people pay attention to, but it's also necessary. This one involves reducing and eliminating excessive sensory stimulus to you. You see how we live in a world that's loud and everything is loud, and there's like pop-ups on your phone any minute. There's the laptop, as Jesse mentioned. There's this, there's that. I've seen people living on screens these days. You see how you watch like a TV show at home on the weekend, and then you have your iPad beside you, which is another screen, and then you have your smartphone beside you, which is another thing. That's
Life
very that's weird. Yeah. Now, those are the types of rest. I'll recap. Physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, and sensory rest. Now, I'm going into the part where we now bring all this together, right? Everyone here listening to us has done physical rest. Otherwise, all of you would have died of fatigue. Every time you go to bed, that's physical rest. But is it emotional rest? Is it mental rest? Is it sensory rest? No, I don't think so. I think now we're opening up the conversation to now how these other things come in there. And just say what you just mentioned, because you always have your laptop open, that is called mental rest. You've not mentally rested. Even when you pass out and you black out in your sitting room and you're thinking about that thing you were journaling or writing down, if you dream about it, your mind is still working.
You know what is really disturbing is we are not resting. Even when you think it's physical rest, for me, I believe when your mind is still very, very active. Actually, I rarely get tired out of physical action. I get tired because my mind...
Yeah, you're thinking about these people who want girlfriend allowance and you cannot
my
compute
mind is
that stuff.
continuously running.
Juliana, you need to help Jesse compute these things to help him understand it's not that deep. There are people who do those sorts of things. We're a democracy. People can do whatever they want, and it's okay. As long as it's okay, you don't
Why
have
am I
to
even
stress
just
No,
about
looking
you're
at
it.
making,
both
you're
of
making it
you?
sound so simplistic.
It's okay.
But it's a
But
fact.
you see, mentally, actually, for me, I don't know about that research. I've not done that, but I think being not resting mentally is even more sickening
Much more taxing.
than even the physical bit. Because if the brain is at work non-stop, then you are not doing yourself justice. Not at all. You actually, if the brain dies first, the body is gonna go.
I think one of the things that taxes a lot of people on the mental rest side of things, especially in society now, is the other side of things, which we spoke about some shows back. What do other people think of you, the societal pressure and stuff like that? That will not allow you to mentally rest. I'll give you a quick example. A lot of people out there are struggling with different choices they want to make in life. And this choice is very straightforward and simple. You want to do something, but you're wondering, if I do this, it will alleviate a lot of stress and a lot of problems in my life. But if you do it, you're wondering what people are going to say because it's unorthodox. It's out of character. It's not the normal way things are done. I don't know if if I'm making sense.
No, you are making a lot of sense.
You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of people are thinking about all sorts of things. And I'll give you a quick example. You know, people who have kids, and then there's that period when the kids are supposed to go back to school and everyone is paying school fees and stuff like that. I've found that most parents are more stressed about thinking of the school fees than the school fees itself, the payment itself. The idea of thinking about it, like, where am I going to get the money? What's going to happen if I default? Should I switch schools? Is this school very expensive? That whole thing, you cycle, your mind keeps spinning and your wheels spin and you go mad and you burn out, right? But if you were to think about it only as a direct thing and say, I have to pay up, and if I can't pay up, it's only either or. Either I pay up or I don't pay up. So now let me dissect that situation by saying, now let me focus on finding the money, then I pay up. And then can I get payment options? I don't know if I'm making sense there.
Yeah, but
You're
then-
now less stressed. It's simple. I have to pay. So if the amount is, just to give a quick example, if the amount is, if you're going to Green Hills as an example, I think Paya is like 10 million francs, right? So a term is like, what, 3 point something. So you think about it and you're like, what's the payment plan? If I pay 3 million now, which I can afford, I don't have to pay 10 for the whole year.
But also, it won't stop that. I have to first think of where will I get the 10 million.
No, where will you get the 10 million is always like a journey that's much, much easier to dissect into. But what happens is when you're thinking about defaulting, you're afraid. There's a way it messes with your emotions. Like, how is it going to look like if my kid is sent home with all those soccer moms when you're dropping? Anyway, let me not get into that. But anyway, back to the conversation. Let's not digress very much.
Pressure.
One is the pressure, the fear of repercussions.
Yeah.
There is a bit of what people might say, but I think for me that is really
Yes, but that's
a
a fear.
small
But that is the fear of
And where
repercussions.
That's the biggest fear that everyone
That's
has.
the
out
fear
there.
of repercussions. The fear of unknown is even worse than
Yeah.
the fear of repercussions. But honestly, just say, if I'm being honest with you guys, you should not be afraid. Like, whatever you're afraid of right
what
now.
people will say.
No, of anything. Everything you're afraid of is far less dangerous than the fear itself. Fear is like way more potent than the actual danger itself.
Yeah.
Like, for example, people who fear dying. I don't think after you're dead, you're going to care about rent, or if you're not renting, you're going to care much about land tax, or if your car has fuel, or in our case, for those of us who use bicycles, Juliana, you said people shouldn't rev their engines. Us, we use bicycles, we cycle.
We're cycling to
Yeah,
work.
we're cycling to work. I'm not going to care about the cycle. I don't think when you die it matters anymore. Maybe you're going to heaven or hell, where if they say that stuff in religion and whatnot, but what I'm saying is the fear of dying is far worse than dying.
I think you're right. I had fear of having children. Like, it has always been my fear for so many years.
But
It
now
really
you have a
affected
mini
me.
you, a mini
I have a
version of
mini me,
yourself.
yes. And that fear affected me, I think, for so long, and I took long to have children. Took me forever. It really affected me in that even when I would probably get a boyfriend who would want a child, I would start running away.
But is it that terrifying now that you
No, I
see
said,
yourself?
but I said it wasn't even a big deal. It's like, it's normal. It feels good to have a mini you around you.
So Jesse, my friend, give that girlfriend allowance. It's not that deep.
Let's get down to some of the questions that are coming through. We're talking about the ability to rest so you can become more productive.
Yes.
NASA, many of us struggle with balancing work and rest. For instance, we have a listener, James, who says he works late into the night and often feels exhausted. Now, can you explain why rest is essential for preventing burnout and how people like James can integrate healthier rest habits into their busy cycles?
I think I'm going to give James only one technique. It's called the Pomodoro technique. If you're the type that works late, you create what they call a time management of the way you work, right? And the Pomodoro technique is typically 25 minutes followed by 5 minutes short break. Then you continue for another 25 minutes followed by a 5 minutes break. Then you do 4 cycles, which makes it 100 minutes, right? Now, after 100 minutes, rest for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, continue another cycle of 4 25-minute sessions. Basically, Pomodoro technique requires you to typically do 25 minutes of uninterrupted work. Then you chill for 5 minutes. Then you do another 25 minutes. Then you chill for 5 minutes. You do another 25. Now, if you reach 100, which is like 4 of them, right? 4 cycles, which makes it 100 minutes, right? Then you now take a 15 to 30 minutes break of literally just chill. Then resume again. Now, if you do this during the day or during the night, whatever your work schedule is, for some reason at the end of the entire work schedule, you will not feel exhausted, yet you would have achieved all the work.
Is it possible in an actual environment where we have so many things distracting us to have 30 minutes uninterrupted of work? For instance,
yes.
You have a phone that is going to ring. It's not you controlling how much it rings unless you switch it off. But we are in an environment where you literally cannot switch off your phone. If you are in the office, unless you're going to lock yourself in, someone is going to walk at your door, knock it because they want to make an inquiry. So it becomes even much more difficult.
It's possible because a Pomodoro technique is for people who work on like tasks that are repeated, that require a lot of analytics, like accountants, finance people, right? These guys need to work like long hours and get a lot of work in within the same day because you have to close the books the same day. Now, there's another one that works for people who work in an environment where you have to deliver per day, where you have to make sure that you squeeze everything into the day, even though you don't have to do it all at once, but you have to squeeze it into the day, meaning you know your productive peak time and then the time when you have those disturbances. So Jesse, let's pick an ideal situation. Let's say you're like a supervisor and people keep walking in like in the morning hours around this time.
Yeah.
If this is the time when people keep walking in, it's okay. Allow that. It's okay. Double in that. Make sure you answer all their queries and whatnot. Now, if the time when everyone has left the office, probably 3 p.m. to like 6 p.m., which is like the 3 hours, make those 3 hours count. Now you'll use something called an ultradian rhythm. The ultradian rhythm is a different one. For it says go 90 minutes of uninterrupted work, then chill for 20, then do another 90, then chill for 20. I swear to God, the things you'll do in 90 minutes are the things you wanted to do in the morning for 3 hours. Have you ever tried to do a 1-pager and you fail to do even half a page because people keep walking in?
Yeah.
And then you sit down. Haven't you ever taken a nap and then you wake up like in the middle of the night, like at 3 a.m.
When
and
you're
you sit
fresh.
down and you do something of 12 pages within less than 20 minutes. And it's actually well done. That's what they call the ultradian rhythm. So this one requires only a time when you're very, very productive. Pick your time. Like, no, in this time, I'll be lying to myself if I think I can have 90 minutes uninterrupted. People are going to keep walking in.
We have Maria, a young entrepreneur, shared that she feels guilty when taking a break because it makes her think she's not doing enough. Question she has: can you talk about how rest actually enhances productivity and creativity, and maybe give examples of some successful people at it who have benefited from prioritizing rest?
I think I would give an example of things that I know. For example, I've tried it out. If you do a job that requires creativity, if I say creativity, I mean, for instance, if you're a writer, if you have to write something very creative, like if you write something down and even you yourself, you read it and you're like, why would someone spend their time reading this and not doing something else, like drinking a smoothie or being on TikTok or whatever? If you're a writer, let's say you write articles, you author stuff and whatever, everything comes from your mind. So there's that creative time when you want to create good stuff. Yeah. And then there's the time where you're having that moment where it's just not working out. So I've found that most of the time when you rest, because first you start by sketching out the entire thing and you're like, this is what I'm going to write. This chapter is like this is about this and this and this. But you don't actually have the content. It's not coming to you. Yeah. And then you scrap it. You try again, then you scrap it. I think I'm talking to also the creative directors who work in ad agencies and whatnot, and the copywriters and all those guys who come up with like the nice stuff that we've been seeing online and whatever. So you create stuff, you scrap it. You create stuff, you scrap it. It's not working for you. What you need to do is to totally forget about the entire process, leave it alone, go do something else. Take a walk or whatever, I don't know, rest, take a nap or whatever. Now, in the meantime, some of them even go to the gym. You're there and you're on the treadmill running, and then all of a sudden you're like, haha!
Ideas are flowing.
Finally, I now know what I have to do. You see, it's usually that kind of thing that I'm talking about. This is not applicable to people who do jobs that require you to do repeated tasks, because those ones don't require you to think a lot. But at the same time, also people who do jobs which require repeated tasks also need some rest, because have you ever noticed that when you're a driver, like these drivers who haul cargo from like one border post to another or from one point to another, or the guys who are transporting us every day with the buses and whatnot, when these guys are exhausted, it's very dangerous. It's almost time for them to have an accident. So they need some time out. They go sit somewhere, take a nap or something. When they come back, they're focused, because I don't know if you've noticed drivers now getting sloppy and forgetting things. You indicate left, you're turning right, and so on and so forth.
The brain is tired, yes.
You're typing out something. Haven't you ever typed out something, Jesse, and then you look at it and you're like, this is 3 different fonts, and I am pretty sure there I wrote 4+2, but for some reason when I look at the document it says 8+5, and you're like, I think I'm tired.
No, you actually type and retype the same thing.
Yeah, you're like, I think I'm tired. I think this is not getting anywhere.
There's a critical question again, and we're running out of time. One of our listeners, David, mentions, and I think I relate to David, he often wakes up feeling tired, even after sleeping for 8 hours. Mm-hmm. He says when he gets up, he's tired from sleeping. Can you explain the difference between quality and quantity of rest, and what David and others can do to improve the quality of their rest?
Now, for the productive users, we've given some of those techniques. Now, for guys like David, there's something they call non-sleep deep rest. I'm not even coming up with this stuff. It's called NSDR. Basically, it's people who use, who direct their mind in a state of like calmness. I don't know if you've seen people who do yoga.
Like meditate?
Yeah. Where they just shut down everything and sit there doing nothing, staring into nothing. And this works very well. If you're the type that sleeps and wakes up tired, it means even when you're sleeping, your mind is working. You dream about PowerPoint slides that you're going to present in Primatire or wherever it is that you're going to present your PowerPoint slides, or in your next what do they call them? Startups call them the ones which they use to pitch. They're called pitch decks. You think about a pitch deck, that kind of thing. So your mind does not get off the thing, even though you sleep. These people need what they call mental rest. And I think a place to start from is the non-sleep deep rest, which is you're not sleeping. Try this one time and tell me if it works for you. Go home around 10 in the night, because there everyone is, those who are in the bar, those who are sleeping. Go home, close the curtains, leave your laptop in the sitting room, leave your phone on the charger somewhere, maybe in the sitting room, probably turn off all your gadgets, go to your bedroom, switch off the light, get into your bed. You have no sleep. You're not really sleepy, but just get into your bed, cover your head, look at the ceiling. It's in the dark. You'll probably be imagining a couple of things in there, but at some point, your mind starts to calm down. You think of so many things, the school fees, the girlfriend allowance, the whatever it is we all think about and whatever. But at some point, your mind cannot do it for so long because all the senses in the room have gone away. It's in the dark. Eventually, your mind finally shuts down.
It takes me long to do that. It takes me long to shut down, though.
Yes, but try it. Now, when you sleep, you'll actually sleep because tomorrow morning you will not be feeling as tired as this guy. This guy probably goes to bed after looking at the blue light in the screen of his phone, sleeps with his phone next to him.
Yeah.
Every moment it's beeping. He doesn't actually go into deep conscious sleep because he's always getting the notifications and the vibrations and stuff like that happening. And a lot of you guys have failed to shut down. You just want to keep going.
I had this very strange dream last night. We were creating the fastest means of transport with the Mackenzies. You know the Mackenzies?
Yeah.
And I woke up, I've just remembered now, I woke up and sent someone a message that we've just created the fastest means of transport. And actually, I inboxed somebody because my mind was so active. I remember waking up and sending up, I've just gone into my phone to confirm if I sent that message, and actually did send the message.
You need to watch a movie called...
But did you send the message in the dream?
In the dream, yes.
Just
and you woke up to the reality of sending that dream?
Yeah, I sent the message.
Meaning
yes.
he was subconsciously sending, but I think he was subconsciously typing it and sent it. Anyway, you need to watch a movie called Back to the Future.
So what does
Thank me later.
It's about what?
It's about this guy who has a theory that if you drive a car fast enough, you can drive into the future or into the past. You can time travel if you go fast enough.
Too much fiction here.
It's a lot of nonsense, but it helps your mind rest.
Our time is fast spent, but we have news coming up. Thank you so much, Nasa, for returning to the show today to talk to us about the importance of rest so that we can be much more productive. Kigali in the Morning continues. News is up next.
Kigali in the Morning brings you the 8